Hello, Dr. Joe here of the 2020forum.com. So there was a piece of publication that came out some months ago, and it was a piece of research where they followed up 48,000 people over a period of 18 years. And one of the findings from that research was that vegans had a higher incidence of strokes compared to non-vegans. And as usual, in today's world of diet wars, the keto guys went on the offensive and the vegan guys went on the defensive. And from my point of view, that's just waste of energy. Because at the end of the day, there is no such thing as a perfect diet. There isn't. So some of us, instead, we went to look at the reasons why this may have happened. And in this video, you're going to find out why vegans may be at a higher risk of having strokes. So if you are a vegan, if you are eating plant-based, I will encourage you to plug into this video. If you're neither, you should also plug into this video because you're going to learn a thing or two. But before I go into the meat of the presentation, let me give you three scenarios. A friend of mine attended a virtual health conference a couple of weeks ago, and he told me about one of the medical doctors who had a presentation in that conference. This gentleman is in his 60s, he's been a vegan for 40 years, and he exercises. Then he did his carotid artery scan, and it turned out that he had plaques in his carotid artery. The carotid artery is the artery that supplies blood to our brain. So he had plaques in his carotid arteries, and he was shocked as to why that may have happened, because in his head, it sort of feels like he's living a healthy lifestyle. And his possible explanation was that, he was blaming it on his genetics and also blaming it on probably eating too much starchy carbohydrates. All of those are good explanations, but he didn't make any mention of a particular nutrient, which I'm going to be talking about shortly. So that's scenario number one. Scenario number two is an Indian medical doctor who works in the United States. He is also a vegan. He went back to India on vacation, and whilst over there, he had a heart attack. He survived it, but he had to be stented. So he had stents inserted in his coronary arteries. And, having survived it, this is a guy who is relatively healthy, normal BMI, he's a vegan. You don't expect something like that to happen to him, but it did. And I'm going to give you a possible explanation as to why that happened. So that's scenario number two. Scenario number three, I got a call this very week from our hospital laboratory about two patients who had undetectable levels of this particular nutrient that I'm going to be talking about. And they had undetectable levels, so it was red flags to me. And when I got in touch with the patients, it turned out that they both were vegans. And this is a nutrient that is readily available, but is lacking in the vegan diet. So they actually had undetectable levels of this nutrient. So what is this nutrient that I'm talking about? Well, drum roll. It's actually vitamin B12. Oh yes, vitamin B12. It may look simple, it may sound simple, it may sound innocent, but vitamin B12 plays vital roles in our bodily functions. If you lack vitamin B12, you can have neurological complications, you can have hematological complications, you can have psychiatric complications, and you can also have cardiovascular complications. I'm not going to go into the other three. The one that concerns us in this video are the cardiovascular complications. Now, so how might lack of vitamin B12 cause cardiovascular complications? Let's look at that. So here we go. There are two amino acids. One of them is called homocysteine, okay, and the other is called methionine, okay, methionine. Now, for the body to use homocysteine effectively, it needs to be converted to methionine. So you've got this reaction here from homocysteine to methionine. Now, for that reaction to be successful, you need vitamin B12 as a cofactor. Okay, you need vitamin B12. So if you're lacking vitamin B12 and this reaction cannot take place, this conversion cannot take place, homocysteine to methionine, what's the net effect of that? Well, you end up with high levels of this homocysteine, very high levels of homocysteine. So what might high levels of homocysteine cause in the body? Well, let's look at that. I can tell you right off the bat that high homocysteine levels will lead to cardiovascular complications. Don't forget, that is the bit that concerns us in this video. So high homocysteine levels will lead to cardiovascular complications, period. So how might high homocysteine levels do that? Let's look at that specifically. So here we are. High homocysteine levels will promote atherosclerosis, which will result in plaques in your arteries, okay? As well as high homocysteine levels will enable clot formation. It will promote clot formation, what we call thrombosis. So when we talk about atherosclerosis, what do we actually mean? Let's look at that. So here is a normal anatomy of your artery. So your artery is like a pipe through which your blood will normally flow. So in a normal artery, you have the inner lining, what we call the intima, okay? You can see that this white bit is called the intima. And then you have the muscular layer, which is the media. And you also have the outer layer, which is called the adventitia. The bit that concerns us is the intima and the media. Forget about the adventitia for now. So that is a normal anatomy of your artery. So what happens when you got atherosclerosis? So what happens when you got atherosclerosis is that, as you can see here, the intima, okay, is no longer flush with the media. So on this bit, the intima is flush with the media, okay? But here, you've got this intervening layer here, okay? This intervening layer is the atherosclerosis. This is a plaque, okay? And you can see this separation. And as you can see here, the lumen of the artery is now narrow, okay? Compared to this bit where there is no atherosclerosis, you can see the lumen here almost 50% narrower than this bit, okay? So this is atherosclerosis. This is the bit you don't want, okay? And once you have that, oh, by the way, here it is in real life. That was an illustration in real life. This is the artery, okay? As you can see, this is the intima here, and then you've got the media here, and then you got this nasty layer here, which is the atherosclerosis, which is the plaque, okay? And this is a bit you don't want. And this is what happens, as you can see in this very vessel, is 50% narrower than, you know, the other bit. So this is what you don't want, okay? You don't want this plaque forming in your arteries. Now, if you lack vitamin B12, you are enabling that to happen, because it means potentially you can form atherosclerosis, you can form plaques. And here's the thing, vitamin B12 deficiency is pretty common. Indeed, 15 to 20% of the population over 60 years of age actually have deficiency in vitamin B12. And the other thing too to note is that you know, lab results may not be entirely reliable in terms of the levels of vitamin B12, because in 50% of people who have low normal levels of vitamin B12, there's actually subclinical damage that is happening already. So the ideal way to check whether your vitamin B12 levels are fine is actually measuring rather the homocysteine levels, or another compound we call methyl malonic acid. That's the true test of knowing whether you got adequate vitamin B12 levels, checking the homocysteine levels or the methyl malonic acid. This is something that is an intervention that is easily done. So all you need to do is take your vitamin B12 supplements. If you're a vegan, if you're eating plant-based and you're not having meat, fish, or dairy products, then you really need to supplement. I know there are some gurus who will tell you that you don't need to bother, that the vegan diet is wholesome and you don't need supplementation with vitamin B12. Don't listen to them. You need your vitamin B12 if you are strictly vegan, or you're eating plant-based where you're not having any meat, fish, or dairy, or even eggs. So you should start supplementing with vitamin B12. Very, very important, because you don't want to enable you know, plaque formation. You don't want to enable clot formation, because all of that will lead to either strokes or heart attacks, as you saw in the scenarios that I talked about, the first two scenarios that I talked about. So for me, This is my vitamin B12. I wasn't taking it before, but as I dug deeper into the subject, I still eat a bit of fish. I don't eat so much meat. I still eat some eggs, but I sort of felt I still needed to supplement. Hence, I went and I got myself this. Now, you might be asking, how much vitamin B12 do you need? Well, if you are deficient, you need 1,000 micrograms per day. If you're deficient, but if you're not deficient, you just want to supplement, 500 micrograms is enough. You don't need more than that. So I just thought I needed to do this video to protect vegans and those who are also doing plant-based diet, who are not eating enough meat or fish or dairy, because it is a simple intervention. All you need to do is pop your vitamin B12 supplements daily. And if you do that, you'll be fine. Hopefully you got some value from this video. Hopefully you learned something. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. Please like the video. Please share this video with any vegan you know, anybody who is on plant-based diet. Let them see this video and start supplementing. Hopefully, you know, they'll start supplementing, because that's the only way you can prevent future cardiovascular complications. Don't forget, there are other complications, you know, neurological, psychiatric, as well as hematological complications if you lack vitamin B12. Oh, by the way, if you haven't joined us at the 2020 Forum platform, go ahead and join us. We do, you know, nice work there. You get support for some of your wellness queries. Oh, by the way, if you are a vegan, if you're eating plant-based, do let me know. If you are somebody who hasn't been supplementing and if you're going to start supplementing, leave your comments down below, okay? I think that's about it for this video. Until next time, well, this is Dr. Joe signing out.